I'm Carter, and this is Carter and Bros. First, there is something I need to clear up, something of a content warning, so to speak. I don't care. The reason why I say that is because most of these book reviews I'm going to be doing from here on are full of concepts that the average person doesn't do and require massive behavior changes. So you're not going to like it. Oh, I also wrote in here, just get your crap together and do it. I really don't care what your sisters, aunts, mothers, brothers, roommate did forever ago. You're still here? Oh, okay, cool. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Easily 2 out of 5 supernovas. Now, you've all heard the exact same personal finance rules, like the 50-30-20 rule. I'll go over that in a different video, I think. You know, how to leverage loans, leveraging cars, all this kind of stuff. Oh, geez. Don't follow TikTok when it comes to personal money advice. But no, friends. Oh, no, not this one. This whole book takes a completely different approach as to how we handle finances, both as people, like myself, and a whole nation. So, just a quick reminder on my rating system. I have 1 through 5 stars, which is pretty much any like star-based rating system that you do at the checkout in Walmart, and then a whole tier above that called 1 through 5 supernovas. Rating system clear? No? Okay, good. The Psychology of Money earned 2 out of 5 supernovas, and here's why. All right, TPOM, or the Psychology of Money, blends the psychology, of what we do involving finances very well with practical advice and action items. The structure of the book, we're gonna start with that. The structure of this book is actually probably one of my favorite reading structures I've seen in a long time. The layout of the chapters, though, was probably the part that I loved the most. It wasn't quite like reading an entire book necessarily. I did read an entire book, but it took, instead of having one big book where, you know, you pull out a couple of things here and there from, oh, I like this chapter, it actually took each chapter and made its own small book out of it with just one main point to follow. And that was excellent. Made it very digestible. And frankly, for me as a reader, I start to fall out at about like 10 pages after reading. But this one, I got up to like 40 in a given day. Like, it was pretty awesome. So that was something that I particularly liked, just because it was easy to read and I didn't have to stress like, oh crap, I need to look for this point, this point, this point. No, it's just like, here's the main point, just read this to help understand it better. This is actually a quote I pulled from chapter 2, and it's on our different behaviors as to how people have done well and made decent amounts of money. So this is an example from chapter 2. It's actually very relatable. Just listen, it's interesting. Ronald Reed was born in rural Vermont. He was the first person in his family to graduate high school, made all the more impressive by the fact that he hitchhiked to campus every day. Reed fixed cars at a gas station for 25 years and swept floors at JCPenney for 17. A friend recalled that his main hobby was chopping firewood. Reed died in 2014. 2,813,503 Americans died in 2014. Fewer than 4,000 of them had a net worth of over $8 million when they passed away. Ronald Reed was one of them. The key point here is that he did not come from a wealthy family. His wife did not come from a wealthy family. No one in his family had a absolute ton of success by any measure. Maybe I'm sure they led good lives, but you get my point. It's not like this wasn't like Jeff Bezos' son. The point made by that passage is pretty clear. I can do this, you can do this, just shut up and read on. Read on, because you know his name was Ronald Reed. Forget it, it's okay. That brings me to point 2. The Psychology of Money tells us how we got to this strange place as a country where we spend a ton of money. A lot. What car do you drive? What are you watching me on? Which TV are you watching me on? By the way, an interesting statistic behind the whole TV thing is that there are more televisions in each house now than there are people. That's kind of nuts. Okay, are you getting what I'm saying or what I'm throwing up? We spend a lot. A lot. Let me give you just an idea here. All right, I'm gonna read it right from the notes just so I don't get it wrong. Our national debt is $32 trillion. Okay? That's trillion with a capital T. Debt per taxpayer is $253,686. Meaning, if you have never touched a credit card, burn your money, drive a completely paid off Tesla, or Dave Ramsey, live in the United States holding a job that gives you a W-2 or 1099 or whatever, you would owe $200,000 in debt. Assuming our government turned tyrannical, of course. So friends, does it get better? That's just our national debt. Okay? Do you know what our total debt is? Go on to debtcalculator.org to like $102 trillion. $102 trillion. Okay? Just so that we're getting the point across here. Do you see why communism is terrible? So let's make this a little bit more fair. Let's say it's not just per taxpayer. That is like per US citizen, okay? Yeah, it's still $73,000 per person. Meaning little like 5-year-old Susie over there, yeah, your little sister, sorry girl, you're laden with $70,000 in debt and you have done nada. Better get started. Okay, we can breathe. Why? How? How do we get here? Well, the psychology of money actually tells us how we got to this point of so much debt and, frankly, consumerism to a wild extent. Let's recap all that really fast. A lot of that centered in post-World War II. When people are coming home, they are wanting to get married, want to find a new house, so the interest rates start being dropped artificially by the government so that way they can buy all that stuff. Which then starts this process of, oh, I can just borrow money and go get this and borrow money and go get that. And that just continues on for 30 years. Now, the 30-year span between 1945, 1950 America and 1980 is a little bit different. They're a bit more conservative with their spending. You get a whole concept of just a little bit of fear, because mind you, their parents, these people's parents had just grown up in the Great Depression, okay? So they've had some of this concept of, hey, I'm gonna be careful because I don't want that to happen again and then be left laid to waste. So their debt to income ratio never really passed 60%, or the percentage of money borrowed versus how much they actually brought back was never passing 60% at the most. So then we have this kind of preconceived concept of, okay, it's all right to borrow stuff, continuing on to the 1980s where there is a whole ton of different investment maker ideas, all this new stuff coming out, except you start to see the middle class shrink. Meaning you have this upper class who are like the investment bankers and all that kind of stuff, who are very well-to-do versus some of this middle class-ish that's doing okay. But then they're still seeing this. They still have all this previous family history of it's okay to borrow and just going, oh, wait, I'm going to copy them and do that. Which leads us to some of what we're in now, because those same parents, it's just a generational thing. It gets distilled and distilled and distilled and distilled until we're $102 trillion in debt. So, that being said, we got to fix something here, okay? Because it's $102 trillion that we owe to other people, other countries. It's just all money just flying out of our pockets all at once. We got to change something here a little bit. It's pretty clear that something drastic has got to be done. Fortunately, that leads me to point 3. It's the psychology of money actually takes some of those concepts that we've learned, or takes some of those patterns that we've learned about, and teaches us how to go the right direction with this. You guys are still watching, right? Like, even after my communism rant? Oh, cool. We've established that, yeah, because of this trend that got started by our great-grandparents, if you're my age, has us in debt up to our heavens. What are we gonna do? Well, the great thing about TPOM or TPOM, or the psychology of money, I'm just gonna say it because acronyms sound kind of stupid sometimes, is that it gives us pretty good guidelines to follow. Now, there's a whole chapter at the end of this where it's like, here's all these things you should do. It's like 20 different things, which are pretty much 20 different, there's like 20 chapters in this. I'm gonna just give you a couple that I really liked. Oh, I'm sorry, I just got tired of regularly numbering things. So this is like a big statement throughout the whole book. Number avocado, be nicer and less flashy. Whenever you buy something, you think of how cool you would look, not how cool you'll actually be. We spend so much to buy things that we don't need to impress people we don't even care about, when they really do not even care about us. They only care about the things that we bought, okay? Like, they only care about, they only want my computer, not me. That should drive a point home. Quit spending money on crap that you don't need just because it looks nice. Number pineapple. Pineapple. Use your money to get control over your time. I've actually, I can share a bit personally on this. I'm actually in the delayed entry program for the Air Force right now. And I sold a ton of stuff, and I got a good cushion that I'm sitting on. And the only reason why I'm able to make this video instead of working to death is because I was able to save up and buy back some of my own time so I could spend this time with family and whatever until I get shipped out. That's an example for myself of, I don't really need to go and have nice things. I would much rather be able to wake up and go, hey, I get to do what I want today. Finally, Starfruit, respect the mess. I was given some very good advice from my roommate of, don't take advice from broke people. Leave them, be nice to them, respect them, let them do their thing, okay? But you gotta be able to pick your own path.